I want to make a quick little rant video about something I heard in the debate the other night. Now, it was probably about 2 nights ago by the time you see this video. It was during the first part of the debate when they were talking about the Second Amendment. And during that part of the debate, they started talking about the Heller decision. And Hillary, she was opposed to the Heller decision. She thought the Supreme Court was wrong. And she said the reason they were wrong is because the Heller decision was about D.C. trying to protect toddlers from dying because of handguns and firearms. She said that literally dozens of toddlers were dying from handguns and firearms. She kind of made it sound like that was in D.C. alone. That's why D.C. was fighting so much. But you know what? That's nationwide. Nationwide, a few dozen toddlers do actually shoot somebody else or injure themselves with a firearm every year. And that's not because of the firearms, but because they have shitty parents. Shitty parents exist. Some kids are in danger just because of who they were born to. Heck, there's a lot of people that kill their own kids violently, either unintentionally or intentionally. They're on drugs, they're drinking, they actually hit their kid too hard. That happens a lot. That accounts for far more deaths among toddlers than handguns. So why don't we ban parents? Ban parents, if you're a jerk, you can't be a parent. You can't be jerk parents. That's what we would ban, jerk parents. Now, it does kind of bother me that Donald Trump didn't correct her on what Heller was about. It tells me that he doesn't really care that much about the Second Amendment because he probably doesn't even know what Heller was about. And I'm not here to talk about Donald Trump. I'm actually here to talk about what Hillary Clinton said. And that bothered me. She says, no one would ever question that I support the Second Amendment, or no one would have any reason to believe that I don't support the Second Amendment, or something like that. I really don't pay much attention when she's flapping her gums. But that was her gist, that no one respects the Second Amendment like her, and that's just so untrue. She has no respect for the Second Amendment at all. She says that the Supreme Court was wrong, that the right to bear arms is an individual right. She said that we should look to Australia, where there's pretty much a total gun ban, as the model for our American gun laws. Now tell me that's someone that respects the Second Amendment. And it's always the haven of a total worthless person to go to, but the children, when they know they don't have any other argument. And for her to stand up and say, Heller was about protecting children, that's such garbage. Heller was about you having an individual right to bear arms and the state not having a right to take that away from you without due process. So therefore, the city of Washington, D.C. couldn't say, or whatever you want to call Washington, D.C., I know it's not a state, but Washington, D.C. couldn't tell people, if you live here, you don't have your constitutional rights. They could not do that. That's what Heller was about. It was a constitutional right. It was an individual right, like all of the Bill of Rights, and therefore it couldn't just be stripped from people because of where they lived. But Hillary Clinton had to play the toddlers card because she had nothing else to say. She had no other way to defend her heinous position that people like you and me should not have the right to bear arms, so she lied. Big surprise, Hillary Clinton lied. Or maybe she's right. If we take her for her word, I guess that Heller meant that now toddlers can have guns. So maybe there's going to be a big spike in concealed carry permits for kids 1 to 4 years of age. So, we'll have to wait and see. But, if Hillary Clinton's right, I guess that's going to happen. I've always told my kid he couldn't carry a gun. I always thought it was illegal. I guess maybe I was wrong. So maybe Hillary Clinton knows better than me. Maybe toddlers can now have guns in this country. But I don't think that's true. I think the more likely thing is that she's just a big fat liar. She's a big fat liar cat, as I like to say. She said a lot of things up there that night about gun stuff that bothered me, like, 33,000 people every year. The vast majority of that is suicides and gang-on-gang violence. You take those out of the equation and we have very little problem with people being killed by firearms. Now, a lot of people say, well, Japan doesn't have these problems, and Hillary Clinton has said this before in the past. She said, they don't have a problem with this many people dying because we have 30,000 people dying a year. Well, yeah, we have 30,000 people dying a year. Like I said, it's mostly suicides. You have to add suicides and gang-on-gang violence to make it seem like anything. But when you look at Japan, when you look at just their suicide rate alone is nearly the number of all of our gun deaths combined, including suicides, because a lot of people over there that kill themselves. It's like 19.4 people per 100,000 people in Japan that do that. And there's millions of people in Japan. That adds up to a lot of people killing themselves, even though they don't have guns. So the notion that we're going to lower the suicide rate in this country if people didn't have guns is kind of ridiculous. But none of the stuff that was said or done was as ridiculous as Hillary Clinton standing up there and pretending that Heller was about protecting toddlers. We want to protect toddlers. Everyone wants to protect children. Gun owners don't want children hurt any more than she does. We just know that guns aren't what's hurting children. More children die every year from swimming pools and car accidents and falls, things like that. Far more people. Like I said, it's only a few dozen people nationwide, or a few dozen toddlers nationwide every year that are injured by a firearm or injure someone with a firearm. It's thousands that die from drowning and car accidents, etc. So why are you taking this little group, this tiny little minor group that is statistically nothing compared to the other deaths, and making it such a big deal? Why are you a tool of the pool industry, the pool noodle industry or something like that, Hillary? Taking big pool noodle money, I guess, so that you won't talk about the real danger to kids, which is swimming pools. I guess we should ban swimming pools, but you'll never say that. But before I go too far and get too far off track here, I just want to say the whole point of this rant was it just bothered me that she was allowed to stand there and get away with saying, well, the only reason I opposed Heller was because of the children. I want to protect the children. That's BS. The reason she opposed Heller, the reason she said the Supreme Court was wrong, is because she doesn't believe people like you or me have an individual right to bear arms. She does not believe in the Second Amendment. Her opposition to Heller had nothing to do with the safety of children. It had nothing to do with dead babies or dead toddlers. And what is it with people on the left and, people that are anti-gun that have this fixation with dead babies anyway? It's like they have some sort of dead baby fetish. Like at night you're going to find them at home with their belt wrapped around their neck, hanging from the coat hook going, ooh, dead babies, dead babies. Like they got some sort of weird sick fetish because that's all they ever talk about whenever they don't have anything else to say about something, except of course for when you talk about abortion is dead babies, dead babies. But like I said, that had nothing to do with what she was talking about. It had nothing to do with how she feels about the Second Amendment. She just doesn't believe in the Second Amendment. She doesn't want you to have a gun. And once she's president, I have a feeling she'll do everything she can to make sure you don't have a gun.